Hey out there folks, it's Dave here from Dave Station VR, and today we are talking about a new game called Shadow Legend, and this is a pretty exciting one. So it's a medieval kind of action-adventure RPG where you're battling against the undead, and it comes from the creators of Merville's VR, Vitruvius VR. But don't stop listening yet. I know a lot of people didn't love Merville's. It was pretty low budget, a lot of rough edges, but they've come so far in a really short amount of time. And Shadow Legend is definitely one that you want to have your eye on. In this game, you're playing the part of the Grand Master of your realm, who's been chosen by the goddess to restore balance and eradicate the undead threat of Lord Adaroth, who's a real scary guy. Basically, you are the only mortal who can stop this undead plague that's taking over the whole land, and it's all on you. So, first thing I want to say right off the bat is that as soon as you load this up, you're going to realize that the environments and everything around you just look so goddamn good. They're really well designed, crisp, lots of detail, and there's a lot of variety in the environments. Each one has its own kind of unique look and feel. You've got medieval villages, you've got cathedrals, you've got dungeons, floating cities in the sky, all this sort of stuff. And it all plays together really well. The gameplay here has a really nice blend of combat, puzzling, and a little bit of platforming thrown in, along with a lot of collectibles to pick up everywhere, which I'll get back to in a minute. But I want to start with the melee, because it's kind of unique in a way, and it reminds me a lot of Golem, which we saw recently, because it's really a system of parries and then counterattacks. And there's certain angles that they attack you from, and you kind of deflect, and then you hit. And it feels pretty good as far as that goes. There are a few issues I had with it, but there's all kinds of gory dismemberment you can do. You can cut people's arms off. You can cut people's heads off. At the end of it, there will be blood everywhere and severed heads. So it's pretty satisfying for the most part, and it feels a little less waggly than most melee combat games. There's also ranged combat, which has bows, magical staves. There's like a blunderbuss that you load cannonballs into, which I really like. So it's a really good variety of weapons overall, and they each have unique properties and just kind of look badass. As far as melee goes, you've got swords, you've got axes, and each one has this, maybe a magical ability, or it does increase damage, or something like that. It might freeze an enemy. And as you go through, you'll unlock more of those and really have a lot of variety in how you decide to approach any battle. The other thing I really enjoyed about the gameplay here was how much looting and collectible stuff there is to grab throughout the world. Pretty much any area you go into is littered with gold chalices and gemstones and gold pieces and various valuables that you can, throw in your chest and take to a merchant and sell. And I got very into just looting the hell out of every single room I went to, which extended my playtime quite a bit. But it's a fun thing to go through and try and get everything that you can, and sometimes they're a little tricky to get to. You might have to climb to a certain area that's kind of out of the way, or get a different angle on something, go through a little puzzle to unlock things. It's just fun. On top of that, there are a certain number of runes, they call them, these magical runes that give you powers in each area, and finding all of those can be quite a task, honestly. They're pretty well hidden sometimes, there might be a bird flying overhead who's carrying one that you have to shoot out of the air, or, they can be pretty tricky. But as you get more of those, you can unlock more powerful weapons, and it is so easy to get sucked into one area, spending time trying to collect those all, especially because your menu, the little book you open up, tells you how many you've collected out of the total number. So, if I see I've only got 3 out of 10, I know I need to stay around there for another 20 minutes or so, looking for everything I can find. And it kind of organically makes you want to explore, makes you want to check out these cool environments, instead of just kind of breezing through the game, killing the enemies, and go to the next part. So it definitely extends the lifespan of this game in a very cool way. Quick sidebar for all you animal lovers out there. There is a dog in this game. You can pet him, you can play fetch with him, you can feed him. And also there's a horse that you can feed carrots to, and he seems very appreciative. And you can rub him on the face, and he gives you a little, or whatever the sound horse makes, you know what I mean. But those were nice little touches. They pop up occasionally throughout the game, but I just love to see little extra stuff like that doesn't need to be there, but kind of rounds out the experience. As you've probably figured out by now, this is a pretty much a straightforward kind of single-player campaign-style game. It's not arcadey, it's not focused on multiplayer or anything like that. And the campaign is about 3 to 5 hours, depending on how much time you spend looking for all the runes and collectibles and grabbing all the loot and stuff. There's also a lot of optional mission objectives in each area, which can be fairly difficult, but they give you an incentive to explore and interact with everything, and definitely add some playtime. Now, overall, I really enjoyed this game and would totally recommend it, but I have to say I did have a few issues, and I'll go through them here real quick. So the melee combat, as much as I like the system, it can feel kind of clunky and maybe inaccurate sometimes. When you're trying to dismember people, there's certain dotted lines that show up, cut the arm here, cut the head here. And sometimes you have to slice it a few times for it to really register the hit, when you feel like you really did chop him where you were supposed to. So it's not as accurate as it could be sometimes. The other thing is I went into, a lot about how great the environments look, but the character models are not up to the same level of quality. Everyone just kind of looks dead-eyed and stiff, and, the NPCs aren't the high point of this game. As far as enemy diversity goes, they can feel somewhat repetitive. You'll be in an area and you kind of just fight the same guy a few times in a row, and then you go to a different area and you fight a different guy a few times in a row, but they don't really mix it up too much with the enemies. Although I do enjoy the boss fights. There's 2 boss fights in the game, and those were pretty fun. Some of the platforming sections don't feel quite right. There's not really a jump button. You just sort of walk onto moving platforms at the right time and then transition onto another moving platform. And if you fall off, it can be a real pain in the ass. You got to climb all the way back up and start over again, and just kind of tedious if you don't get it the first time. And I wish a jump button was in there somewhere, because that would make it more fun. And really, I just wish this thing was longer. I mean, I like it a lot, but 3 to 5 hours for $25 is really good. I just wanted there to be more. When it was over, I was like, oh, really? It's over already? Just because I was having such a good time with it. But those complaints are, in the grand scheme of things, pretty minor. At the end of the day, I would recommend this game to a ton of people. Anybody who likes kind of fantasy, medieval-themed games, or melee combat, or magic, or undead stuff, anything like that, or just like a good single-player campaign, you will enjoy this. And it's a huge step forward for the developers, Vitruvius VR, compared to Merville's. And it's one of those games that you're going to want to have for the PSVR. So it is $24.99, and it's coming out January 21st, which is today. And just thumbs up all around from me. I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you to the developer for sending a review code. And that's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know I haven't made a video in quite a long time, but I'm going to get back on the horse. It's a new year. It's 2020. Dave Station VR. Let's go, guys.